Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Friday forecast with the LFC Daytrippers. I am Gav, and with me this week I have Chris Brack, looking all splendid with his new microphone and all that stuff. Joe from All Leeds TV disappeared for a couple of weeks when Leeds were getting battered, but he won during the week, so he's back. I'm only messing. I was going to tell everybody that, look, listen, Gav, I'm not going on. We're getting hammered here. I'm not doing it. But no, that's not the truth. It's not the truth at all. They were playing last Friday night, in fairness. And we have got Harvey with us. Harvey, of course, red and blue site on YouTube, and works for 90 minutes as well, alongside Grizz, I think, at times. So everyone knows how this show works. We chat about the Premier League weekend. We pick about 5 or 6 fixtures to look at in some sort of detail. The other 4, we get some quick predictions. And I promise this week that we will remember to name 3 scores from the weekend. Of course, this show is brought to you by Colossus Bets. Colossus Bets is a syndicate betting company. Very easy to sign up. Takes 5 or 6 minutes to do. All the usual bookmakers sign up stuff that has to be done, like driver's license or whatever, and you go in there, you check us out, LFC Daytrippers, you look at our syndicate, and you join in if you want. You can bet as anything from 10p up to whatever you like. This week's syndicate is live, and in the show description you will see the link to Colossus Bets and also the link to the syndicate. We're going to get straight into it, lads. I'm going to start this week with West Brom v Villa. Usually I wouldn't be bothered with West Brom or Villa, but Sam Allardyce has somehow managed to weasel his way back into football. Too many points of gravy, and he's had enough. He wants to get back to full match fitness. So here we go. Joe, I'm going to start with you. They sack Bilic after their best result of the season, and Villa are being a bit up and down. They have some stunning results in them, and then they have some just very poor. I think they draw 0-0 with Burnley the other night. What do you make of this, Joe? Because I know where they are in the table, but surely that just signs of life in them, and the team is playing for them if they go away to City and get a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. For me, I think it's crazy, to be honest. I think it's a sorry state of affairs that the decision was already made prior to the game, because obviously, I think Bilic even said, I want to be the one who goes and breaks it to the squad, which again leads me to believe that they're a tight-knit group. It wasn't out of the back door kind of job. He's actually wanted to go and say bye to them, as it were. I think, obviously, if Sam's coming in, they've probably made assurances money-wise. Why not give Bilic that money? He hasn't shown that he doesn't know what he's doing, I don't think. He's got them up out of the Championship. I feel bad because I really like Bilic. I do like him. I think it was in the Euros when he was doing all the commentary and stuff.
Yeah,
and
he was great.
How much he knew about the game, man. And it was one of them where I just sat up and thought, I could listen to this man talk football all day. And like you say, good performance against City. They weren't cut adrift. And for that, I want them to now go down. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think you're alone in that, because like the money point you make is very interesting. Like, Slaven Bilic knows this squad. He's more or less built this squad. He gets them up from the Championship. Look, you look at how good Sheffield United were last year and look at them now. Okay? So West Brom are doing okay. They're not cut adrift. They're not 25 games in and staring down the barrel here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's 4 teams down there that look very, very vulnerable. But like you said, you're bringing Allardyce in because you just feel he can keep you in the division. But he's going to spend a bucket load of money. And what happens if it doesn't work? You know that way. I think you have as much chance with Bilic knowing the squad and being together than a Sam Allardyce coming in. And he's going to be, you know the way he's going to be with most players. He's going to be with most players. He's not really going to give a shit, because come June he'll walk away with a payday. That's how it works in the world of Sam Allardyce. So I just don't understand. I'd understand, say, the other side of Christmas, when you're 17, 18 games in, you go, we're halfway through, this isn't looking good, let's make a change, let's get to January and see. But I just don't know. Harvey, you look at this and they are in trouble, and they come up as a derby, I suppose, this weekend against Villa. And I don't know, do you look for a new manager bounce, Harvey? Could he left Bilic there for one more and see if he could do it in one of their biggest games of the season?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it just, there's so many questions with this whole situation. I mean, as you guys have mentioned already, like getting rid of Bilic, and it looked like they were planning to get rid of Bilic and before the City game anyway, makes you wonder why the players the players put in a shift for him, obviously, in that game to get a fantastic draw away to Man City. And off the back of that, what do the players think? You know, there was clearly fight there for Bilic, and the boards have obviously gotten rid of him straight after that. It's just really poor timing. I mean, obviously, Allardyce is the man you bring in to keep a team up. That's been proven. And speaking from experience, it works. Allardyce's style of play in terms of getting points on the board. But as you guys have mentioned, again, just doing it now at this point in the season makes no sense to me. He can spend, when he has the money to spend, he can get good signings in. And again, why not give that money to Bilic? It just seemed like a really strange thing to do and really poor timing. And I'm not too sure, especially going into a derby as well against Villa. It's definitely going to be a big game for both teams. I just struggle to see what the thinking, what the thought process was behind it, to be honest. I mean, I just struggle to see how they would see that going in a positive way for like the players and the fans, you know.
But it's not a forward planning thing though, because like Allardyce will stick around for 6 months. 18 months max, okay? And players coming in January, you know there's a premium on them. They're going to look for, the clubs that you're buying off are going to look for big money. And you're going to need to spend big enough money if you want to get out of this mess. Well, a mess, I say a mess, they're still competitive when you look at the league table. They're going to want big money, they're going to want big contracts. And then when Allardyce disappears after 18 months, you're starting a whole new rebuild. You're going back to the year dot, because Allardyce isn't going to build you a long-term thing. He's going to keep you in the Premier League, but he's not going to build you anything. So when you bring your next manager in, if he doesn't work, what do? Ring Allardyce again and say, come back and do it again?
And it's kind of a sign of where West Brom are at. You know, they're seen as a yo-yo club for a reason. You know, there's lack of consistency there. There's always seems to be, you know, managers coming and going regularly and players coming and going. And, you know, as you mentioned, Allardyce, he will be gone in about 6 to 18 months, you'd expect. If they stay up one season, will they start the next season? You know, there's no real long-term planning there, I think is the main thing. And yes, they may start this season with him. I think the odds on that are probably a lot stronger now for them to stay up. But what after that? You know, what is the planning process going forward? It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, if like Kev O'Sullivan says there, 25 million spent in the summer on a squad that were only decent in the Championship was never enough. The board are completely out of touch. I don't know, like, if you want to get rid of Bilic, get someone that has a bit of vision that's going to stick with you. But then again, the board's going to stick with them anyway. You don't really know. Chris, I want to talk to you about Villa, because they've had some brilliant results this season, namely against Liverpool and away at Arsenal as well. But you know, they're a bit hit and miss, aren't they? They don't seem to have a consistency there. Would they have much preferred to go into this game with Bilic in charge, or did you think, here we go, Sam in the door, we're going to be absolutely battered around the place, and they won't be looking forward to this one?
I don't think they'll be too fussed over it, to be honest, because I don't know how much work he can do in 2 days. I'll be honest, I'd be more concerned for our game, because I think in our game he'll probably have them drilled to set piece hell. So that's what they'll do. Going back to Sam Allardyce, I think West Brom got him in now before he went to Arsenal.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I think that's what it is. I think they thought, shit, Arsenal got to get him soon. We best get him in. I was kind of hoping it was the end of this dinosaur merry-go-round. I'm not quite sure who they'd have gone for instead of Bilic. I mean, as interesting as Bilic is, and he is an interesting character, I do like him as a pundit. Management-wise, I've never been massively impressed with him. His teams play okay, but and I don't mean to sound disrespectful. He is a Championship-level manager, as in he does brilliant in the Championship, and he does. But we've seen these managers before who are really good in the Championship, and for some reason they could just never quite translate it in the Premier League. No idea why. Some managers, that's just the way it falls for him. So, I mean, I was surprised they got rid of him, because when you look at where they are, with something like 7 points, unless from like 3 points off the top. I mean, Fulham aren't exactly pulling up any trees apart from against us, and Burnley are still not at the level they want to be, and Arsenal haven't won a game in about 7 months. So there's always that chance you can catch him up. So I thought he would go at some point this season. I didn't think it'd be this soon though.
Yeah, Red Steve said a 7-figure bonus if he keeps them up, so he's heard. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. But even when you look at Villa, Villa were going through a tough time last season. They only stay up on the last day, I think, away at West Ham, if I remember rightly. And they stick with their manager, don't they? They stick with their manager? He's still there. And they gave him more money, and he's doing okay. They are improving. The consistency's not there, but look, it's the second year up from the Championship. I know it's Aston Villa, but it's still the second year up from the Championship. So I don't know. Maybe that's something for West Brom to look at. But they seem to have just shit themselves early, to be honest, and they've decided to make. Go on.
I think with Villa though, they lost two. They did lose two key players for the last 6 months, and Heaton and Wesley both do their ACL within like a week of a transfer window closing. So I think so. They weren't great before that, but I think the two key players in a bottom half side going out, they don't really have that level of backup. So I think that's what's. I mean, the best thing they did was signing Watkins, which which proves again, that's why you stick with the manager you've got, because he spotted him and got him. And as we unfortunately Gav, as you may experience, he could score quite a lot, as we found out, unfortunately.
Yeah, we did, and I've actually expected a bit more of Ollie Watkins since, but he's been a bit hit and miss. But I don't know. This is a tough one to call at the weekend now with the whole Sam Allardyce thing thrown in. Joe, I'll let you go first on the prediction.
Villa have been great away from home. Like Chris said, I think it's too short notice for him to get a tune out of them yet. So I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
Right. Chris, I'll come to you next. You can go next.
I'm going to go over scrappy 1-1.
Okay. Harvey, what are you having on this?
I agree. I think there's not enough time for Allardyce to implement any sort of tactical coaching on the side. But, if they defend like they did against City, there's a chance they ground a result out of this game. But I can just see at Villa, they've got a lot of quality players up top. So I think they would just get ahead 1-0.
1-0. Okay. I can't tell you that I am our syndicate choice this week for this game. We've gone for 2-1 Villa as well, just to edge it. So Craig Lowe has 1-0 to Villa. Most people there, I think they think it's going to be tight, and I think it will be that way as well. I genuinely do. Couple of quick predictions, lads. Harvey, I'll come to you first. Newcastle v Fulham.
Newcastle Fulham. I mean, what result Leeds had against Newcastle midweek. I mean, it's very. I think it's been the story of every team this season is just lack of consistency. From each game to the next, you don't know really how the team is going to play or set up, or there doesn't seem to be, apart from the teams in like the top four, Spurs and Liverpool probably being the best examples at the moment. There's no real team, no pattern of results that you'd expect. And Newcastle's a great example of that. They get good results and then get battered by Leeds, which it can happen to any team the way Leeds play if it all clicks. But you don't really expect Bruce, the way he sets the team up, really defensive. Very similar to Sam Allardyce. Trying to grind out results, keep clean sheets. You don't really expect it. And Fulham, they're starting to hit form. Now, after a really slow start to the season, they're starting to actually put in some good performances. All these new signings seem to be starting to click now. Loftus-Cheek, I think, is starting to perform well. And from my experience of him at Palace, I think he's a really great player on his day. One for the future, for sure. And if they get players, obviously Lookman's been the star player for them as well. I think when they get these players firing, they cause a lot of problems. And with Newcastle, a bit of lack of pace at the back. On their day going forward as well, they're quite one-dimensional. Wilson up top, not too much pace on the wings, apart from Saint-Maximin if he's fit. That is, I think again it's one of those games where I could definitely see Fulham going and getting a result the way they're playing at the moment. But it's going to be a tight one again. It's one of these games where both teams don't want to lose it, and a draw wouldn't be the end of the result, end of the day for either side.
So what are we going? What prediction are you having on it?
I'll go. It's going to be boring again, but I'm going to go 1-0 Fulham.
1-0 Fulham. Okay. Akash Sharma has 2-1 Fulham. Captain Salah has 1-1. There's a guy there. Jack Flash seems to be having a conversation with Peter Smith. Peter Smith's not on tonight, but if you look up at Peter Smith Sings on Twitter, you will get him there, and you can have that conversation with him. Chris, Newcastle v Fulham. What are you having?
2-0 Newcastle. Wilson double.
Oh, well, he's gone big. Big. Joe, are you going as big as that?
No, I'm with Captain Sal there. I'm going 1-1.
1-1. Okay, I can't tell you in our predictions this week. We've gone for 2-1 to Newcastle, a 1-1 draw, or a 2-1 win to Fulham. So again, nice and tight. But we think, I think someone edges it. I really do. I think Newcastle be smarting a little bit from that Leeds result during the week, but we'll have to wait and see. Another quick one for you, Joe. I'll stay with you. Brighton v Sheffield United.
Leeds 1-0, first win of the season. It's happening.
You serious? Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, Brighton v Sheffield United.
2-1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton.
And Sheffield's goal will be an own goal.
Okay. Jesus, he's like bleeding.
Mystic
Meg here.
He scored 2 the other night.
Doesn't count against Man United.
Harvey, Brighton v Sheffield United.
I agree. I think Sheffield United's first win, 2-1.
2-1. God, we're going with him. I'll that's not part of our syndicate this week, but I will go. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Next game up, next big one is Spurs v Leicester. Liverpool had a big win against Spurs during the week. Jose's having a complete meltdown, which was we should have got extra points on the league table for that, in my opinion, but we didn't. Despite us asking for them, and Leicester still up there. No doubt about it, still up there. But win one, put Brighton away handy, and then get beaten at home with Everton, who are still on form as well, and we'll discuss them later. But Chris, I'll come to you first. I think this is not a must win for both of them, but I think if either of them lose this, you're kind of going 2 in a row, 2 kind of biggish games in a row, and the doubts start to creep in. I'll let you talk about Leicester, Chris. What way did he approach this? Because you've seen Spurs approach it tonight. I don't think they'd be that defensive against Leicester, but would that suit Leicester? Just come out and be defensive and let Vardy run amok when he feels like it?
Yeah, I think they will be defensive. He keeps switching between a 3 and a 4, and obviously we've experienced this with Brendan. He overthinks it. I mean, the big thing for them is I think they've got Johnny Evans back, which is probably what they need. But I mean, they're still doing mad things like playing Wilfred Ndidi at centre back when he's finally fit. Your best defensive midfielder, you've got another 4 centre backs to pick from, and you put him centre back against Everton. I don't get it. I mean, I had a quick Leicester-wise form guide is them to a T at the moment. 1-3, lost 3. They're so unpredictable. They're probably better suited away from home. I think probably a bit like Tottenham because the way they like to play. But I've got a feeling Leicester are going to be having more of the ball against Spurs, probably like we did, not to the same level. And I think Spurs are going to pick them off. It just seems to be going through a bit of a naive spell again, Rodgers, and he just infuriates me. Just when you think he's getting a run or getting it clicked, he just throws into it ridiculously stupid or self-inflicts it and makes life difficult for himself. So I've got a feeling Spurs are going to edge it, probably 2-1.
Okay. Rajiv says, Gav, he's pulling me up here, Rajiv, messing from him on a Friday night. He says, West Brom's biggest game of the season is the Black Country Derby versus Wolves. Of course it is. Did I not say one of their biggest games? I probably did say that biggest one. I apologise, Rajiv, for nearly ruining your weekend, pal. I know, it's all right. I know, Rajiv, he's sound. Harvey, this one, I can kind of see both teams just kind of sitting back and going, yeah, it'd be a bit of a nutting game and just see who takes the chances that come, because Jose loves playing just the way he plays. He's just the way he is. We know it. Rodgers has gone away to the likes of City and got and Leeds and Arsenal and got good results by not having the majority of the ball but being clinical when they do get it. Could it just be a standoff here for a large portion of this game, and then it could just come down to one moment?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a classic case of two sides that could easily cancel each other out, to be honest, in the way they set up and approach the game. We know how good Mourinho's side is in terms of counter-attacking. I think bar Liverpool, probably the best counter-attacking side in the league, the way they go forward, maybe Man United as well. And then the same with Leicester. I think the fact they have Vardy, obviously their star man in the side, they naturally set up to accommodate his talents, his skills, which is running in behind players or playing long balls over the top for him to run onto. So it could be a classic case of two teams that don't really want to have the ball, want the other team to have the ball and try and, force an error, force a mistake and try and capitalise. And it could come down, as you said, to one moment for a team to take. And when you weigh up the two sides, you feel in terms of quality that Spurs would probably edge it in terms of the more, the quality players they have going forward to take a chance and to seal the win.
Is it Joe? Is it a case of whoever wins the battle of handling Son or Vardy comes out on top here?
I'm a bit Harvey. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Mourinho will just let Leicester have the ball. I think that's what he'll aim to do. Let them have the ball, and I think, I don't know the name, but he said Leicester play on the break better than any team in the league. I don't agree with that.
Stefan said that.
I don't agree with that. I think Tottenham or Man United, to be fair, but I think Tottenham are unbelievable at the minute. And look, we were speaking to a Leicester fan on our channel earlier on, and he's not confident at all, and just thinks Spurs will win the game, and that's coming from their own camp. And I'd have to go along with that. I'm thinking Kane and Son double. I don't think you can really stop Son at the minute anyway, to be fair. Try as you might, I just think he's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, he is. He's outstanding. He really is. He's probably my favourite player outside of Liverpool in the league. Just the way he plays. I don't know. It's just something about him. And obviously, Gav, it's the fucking assists and goals, but it's not. It's everything about him. The way he plays, his movement. He seems to be everywhere. He's over one side of the pitch 1 minute, he's over the other at the next, he's through the middle, he's dropping deep. He's just, like, don't get me wrong, Kane should get massive credit for the season he's having so far, but I think Son is the best player. I genuinely do. And listen, the stats mightn't back that up. I just think probably the most important player, maybe that's the better word. I think he makes it tick more than Kane does, but Kane gets massive benefits off it, and Kane is fantastic as well. But
he doesn't get enough praise on the European world stage for me, Son. And I don't know if it's because he's from.
Is it probably because they have that run to the Champions League final a couple of years ago, but in Europe they kind of go under the radar a bit. Spurs. Could it be that?
Yeah, possibly.
I'd love him at Liverpool.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I thought he'd slot straight into it.
He's a player that you look at and you go, he just slot in perfectly. He's wherever, anywhere. I mean, where would be a nice problem to have. But yeah, every time I see him, I think he'd be brilliant on our side. And there aren't probably many players you could say, oh, he'd be great in our front three. But he certainly would. Whatever we played, he'd be brilliant. He's probably the one Spurs player I was more concerned about when we beat them a couple of days ago. Because every time Son gets the ball, you always feel like there's something going to happen here.
It's not even when Son gets the ball. I just think it's when Kane gets it, or when Bergwijn gets it, or someone in midfield gets it. You're just looking, going, where the fuck is Son? Because don't worry about the fella on the ball. Even if a fella has a shot on goal from 18 yards, you're wondering where's fucking Son, because he got a touch on it. He is. He's just brilliant. He's just a brilliant player, and there's no argument about it from me anyway. I just love watching him play. I don't really like watching Spurs play, but Son you'd watch all day. He's a breath of fresh air. He really is. Come on then, predictions, Chris. Go on. I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs, I think. Just
2-1 Spurs. Harvey?
2-0 Spurs.
Okay. And Joe?
2-0 as well, yeah.
Okay. Our syndicate this week has kind of gone a bit safe with this one, and you're allowed to go safe, of course, on Colossus Bet. You don't have to just pick one result on each game. You can pick 3 or 4, and all the lines add up and stuff like that. So we've gone with 3 on this one. We've gone with 2-1 to either team, and we've gone with a 1-1 draw. Again, we think this one is going to be tight. Stephen Max says 3-1 to Leicester. Kev O'Sullivan has 1-1. So yeah, look, it's I think it's going to be another tight one. I think it's fair to say it's going to be another tight one. Joe, quick predictions. Here we go. Burnley v Wolves.
Wolves 2-1.
Oh, okay. And Harvey?
3-1 Wolves.
3-1 Wolves. Okay, they all fancy Wolves. Even though Burnley went away. I was going to say even though they beat Arsenal. But
is it?
Yeah.
Half point against them now. Bad result, man.
Yeah. And Burnley get a point away at Villa the other night, didn't they? Chris, Burnley v Wolves.
Yeah, I've got 2-1 as well.
2-1, okay, good. I think it's a 1-1 draw. Kieran B has 2-0. Captain Sal has 2-0. Yeah, there's plenty there. 3-2. says Mohammed Amin Belloumi. I hope I've done your name justice there. But then, hold on, he's changed that to 5-2. Oh, what's going on? You can't be doing this. This is like Grizz with all the bleeding predictions. You can't do that. Because Grizz gives you about 11 predictions before the game and then just points at the one that comes in. It's great. We have great crack every week. I think it's tight. I think it is. Joe, back to you. Quick one. Chelsea v West Ham.
Chelsea can't beat teams in top half, can they? So I'm going 2-0 West Ham.
Away at the Bridge?
Ooh. Yeah, just because they can't beat teams in top half. So 2-0 West Ham.
Okay, I'd actually, I wouldn't mind saying that, being honest with you. Harvey, I'll let you go next.
Derby game, I think 2-2.
2-2, nice high scoring draw. I like it. And Chris, what are you having on this one?
I had 2-2 as well because they haven't beaten a side above 13th.
Right. Okay. Carl Blake is not having a bar of you. He says 3-1 to Chelsea. Sorry, it's gone. Dave's LFC chat says Chelsea will win. Sorry, Carl Blake, there you are. There, 3-1. Somebody took 2-2, said Eddie Video Star. We had another one there as well. Nagib says 1-2 West Ham win. So there you go. There's plenty coming in about a draw. So it is all kind of tight. It is kind of tight. So yeah, I'm absolutely okay with that. Let me see where we go next. We've done Spurs. Let's go to Southampton v City. Of course, Joe, I'll come to you for Southampton. Doing really, really well. What I have noticed though is that if they're not clearing a game after 70 minutes, it gets a bit messy. Like they just run out of legs, against Man United in particular. But they're doing really, really well, and I think that the sort of team that if they come up against City and they get ahead of City, they could go on and beat them.
Yeah. No, I agree, mate. To be fair, I've been really impressed with them. They sort of go under the radar for me. Like, I don't really pay much attention to them, you know what I mean? But then they're just picking up results. I think they probably should have gone on and beat Arsenal, to be fair. But what's that, sorry?
It's a bad point, that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But they're scoring goals. They're playing well. I think, yeah, they're a good side. And look, I think the issues glaring with City is they just haven't got a goal scorer, obviously. The issues with Aguero and stuff, and Jesus isn't really up to it. I think for City to mount any sort of serious challenge, they need a new man up top. I don't think they'll get it done in January, but I'll be looking at someone like Haaland in the summer or something like that. I think I fancy Southampton to do City, to be fair, this weekend.
Well, Harvey, do you go along with that? Do you fancy Southampton to do City at the weekend?
Well, the way they're playing this season, I wouldn't put it past them to cause an upset. They've done it already, of course. And it's just, for me, it's impressive the front four, or in particular, Che Adams, Danny Ings up front, and then obviously Walcott, who it's looking like a fantastic loan spell for him, going back to his old club. And I just think the pace they have going forward, again, it's a side that loves to counter-attack, and obviously Hasenhüttl, the way he presses teams high up the pitch, puts them under pressure, the energy. And I think Ward-Prowse as well, obviously we know how good he is from set pieces. But he obviously, as a captain, he leads the team in terms of that press as well. He's got a lot of energy in that midfield. And from, outside the box, those goals against Villa, for example, it's unbelievable. It's like taking a penalty for him, getting a free kick on the edge of the box. So just adds a whole new, element to the game when you have a player that good from dead ball situations and from corners as well, especially with players like Bednarek and Vestergaard, who are huge centre-backs coming forward as well. So they've got a lot of good players and a lot of good areas in their side that can cause teams problems. And City are crying out for a goal scorer, and they've scored as many goals as Palace this season, which is there's no bigger alarm bell, I'd say, for a team up the top of the table. So yeah, I can see Southampton definitely getting something.
Okay, Chris, what were you seeing this one? Because Manda Roncon Dilma says Southampton couldn't finish their meal versus Arsenal. City are winning 3-1 for him, or for her. Sorry, I'm not too sure. Amanda. Chris, what way are you going with this?
I'm expecting it to be quite a high scoring, probably another draw, but I like a high scoring draw. Hasenhüttl just deserves all the credit in the world. I mean, to come back from a 9-0 hammering, which, let's be fair, I think we did a show after it. We were amazed he lasted the night because nobody does. And you look at how Hasenhüttl is what Arsenal fans thought Arteta would be. Yes. He is a proper manager. If you put Hasenhüttl into that Arsenal side, because it's got enough talent in it, would scare the living shit out of the league. He's done brilliant, and he's got a tune out of players that you wouldn't expect. You know, Harvey's mentioned Walcott looks like a lad reborn. He looks like the lad that Arsenal bought. You know, Vestergaard to me, who I didn't think was great last year. This year, has shown me hints of how Sammy Hippie used to play. Probably not the same level, but you know, and Danny Ings. You know, I'm just made up of lads doing well because I felt so sorry for him at Liverpool because it just never fell for him injury wise. But the lad I'm really impressed with is Ward-Prowse. Every time I see him, he just gets better and better. Leads well. His delivery, not just his set piece, that we know about that, but his passing range in centre midfield is really, really good. I'm surprised if besides as well, like this, bigger clubs haven't looked at him. I think the only thing he probably lacks is probably that little yard of pace, maybe to glide past him. But the way he can manipulate and move a ball is brilliant. City, they've definitely tightened up. They look better defensively, but they've seemed to have swung too far the way. Whereas last year they couldn't defend at all. This year they can defend very well, apart from when you get a ball near Kyle Walker and he kicks guys in the air for fun. But they've just lost that attacking spark. I mean, I heard yesterday a stat that Jesus has not hit a shot on target now for 6 games straight. That's your main. That's the guy who's replacing Aguero. You know, and look, Jesus, he's not a bad player. He's not Aguero's level. I mean, not many players are, in fairness, but if he should, it's like a different version of what we had last year, where we're going like Origi's our back up to the front three, and you're going, he's just not the level. I think Jesus again, he's just not quite right. Sterling, he's a brilliant player, but hasn't quite found his form. And Bernardo Silva has been missing now for about 18 months. I don't know. The player that, the year they got 100 points and the year they beat us with 98 points, Bernardo Silva was fantastic. Yeah. Don't know where that player's gone. He just looks a shadow player.
I'll tell you where he's gone. He's gone.
Barcelona.
Yeah, because they tried to shift him to Barcelona as part of a deal for Messi, and I'd say he's just pissed off, and I'm not surprised. And the talk is that Jesus was involved in that as well, along with the young centre-back Garcia. There was talks of those 3 being shipped to Barcelona as part of a deal for Messi to try push it over the line, because obviously Barcelona had Messi's contract very, very tightly wrapped, even though Messi didn't think so. But I think that's where it is. I think he's probably looked and went, I don't care. I'll get a move somewhere, and I genuinely do. Because be honest, if you go back over the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons probably, Bernardo Silva is up there in the top 3 Man City players, I would say, easy. Yeah. And how he's not even performing or playing regularly, I don't know, is beyond me. But look, we'll have to wait and see. Southampton, somebody said there, I think it was Kev O'Sullivan, said that Hassan Hutel is being linked with Dortmund, because obviously Dortmund got rid of their manager last week, but apparently he's been linked there. I really like Ward-Prowse as well. I think you're right, Chris. I have him in my fantasy team, and every time Southampton get a free kick, I just keep checking the fantasy football app, see if my points went up. But look, it's very tight, judging by the comments as well. There's a lot of 1-alls, 2-2s, 2-1s. Very tight results. There's no one getting a hammer on this weekend in the Premier League, but it looks of it. Joe, I'll come to you first. Who are you going with?
2-1 Southampton.
Wow, Joe is on fire tonight. Harvey.
I think they can cause problems, Southampton, but I've backed City to get the job done here. I'll say 3-1 City.
Okay, and Chris?
I've got splinters again. I'm going to go 2-2 because I think Ederson's going to drop one again, because he's quietly off form, but no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I think I fancy City. I do. I think they put so much pressure on sides when they have the ball, and Southampton just look a little bit leggy for me. Maybe it's not a fitness thing. Maybe it's just the drop off when you have to bring on subs. I'm not too sure. They just look a bit vulnerable.
That's a good example.
Yeah, they just look a bit vulnerable when they have to bring players on and they have to change it a bit. Maybe it's they work so hard that if they don't get absolutely clear in the game, they're in trouble. I'm going to go 2-1 City. I think City just to edge it. I think City go 2-0 up and just about survive. Kev O'Sullivan has 4-2 to City. Olivier has 1-1. Captain Salah has gone 4-0 City. Shane Downs has 3-2 Saints. But look, we'll have. Go on.
Sorry, do we think, because this is Southampton's now 3rd game in a week, I wonder how much that fact that's going to play to these sides at the moment who don't play in Europe?
Well, I don't know, because
we're used to it.
Well, we are used to it, but and the clubs in Europe are, and this is why this whole 5 subs thing just bemuses me when they're given an opportunity to go into a period where they're going to play 3 games a week, 3 games in a calendar week, I suppose, and they just keep refusing to take the opportunity. And when they get around to February, March, and they're crying because 3 of my best players are out, because you ran them into the ground, because you can only make 3 subs and you're playing 3 times a week, they won't have an argument to come back. I just can't understand. I can't understand the logic, especially when they allowed the last 8 games or 9 games or whatever it was the last season to be played with 5 subs. It's no different now. It's actually more of a schedule now. It's harder on players now, and you're making it even more difficult by reverting back to 3 subs when everyone else is doing 5. Everybody else is doing 5. But listen, you can.
I don't agree with you, Gav.
Well, you walk away then, Joe. You go.
No, because all it does, right? Genuinely, it's easy to say that from your guys' perspective, but all it does is just creates a bigger monopoly, a bigger gap between them teams that have the squad to be able to flesh them out and have all these extra players. Whereas Leeds United, for example, if I look at me, and I don't know if Harvey's the same, the level of player that we can bring on isn't nowhere near to if we're up against a Liverpool, a Manchester United, a City. And
I get that, Joe. But the point I'm trying to make is that stay at the 3 subs, right? And stay there and play all these games, right? I don't think there'd be much of a difference points wise, okay, if from the 3 subs or the 5 subs to what you would get. I know where you're coming from. Oh, well, you can have more quality on the bench and you can make 5. My argument is if we all stay at 3 and we all keep playing these games, right, the biggest teams to suffer would be the smaller sides, because if they lose 3 first team players, Joe, and Liverpool lose 3 first team players, Liverpool can adapt a lot quicker than these, and they're in a much more perilous position than Liverpool. So it's going to hurt them a lot more in the long run. And you will get, Joe, and I'm telling you, and listen, when it happens, I mean, you were here on a Friday night in February, and people come in and say, when I get a guest on here from, I don't know, a Fulham or whoever, and they say, well, we've had to play this fella fucking every week, and now he's injured, and we won't have him for the rest of the season, and we cook it down because of that. I'm just not going to say nothing.
But what did you make to G Nev's argument on Monday Night Football when him and Carragher had that? Because I was on his side of the thing, he was saying there wasn't no difference in terms of the amount of fixture pile up and stuff like that. It was just Klopp trying to get an advantage. Obviously, you're going to disagree with that, but I think he made some very valid points for me.
But Joe, I don't think you can tell me that there's the same amount of congestion this season compared to last. This season is madness, Joe. Every time I fucking turn around, Liverpool are playing. I'm used to doing a preview show about Liverpool on a Friday and maybe a Wednesday for the Champions League. I'm doing Champions League games all over the place, and then you're going to throw the FA Cup in January. And the FA Cup isn't on a Saturday anymore, Joe. The FA Cup's nearly a week-long event now in January because they've that amount of games they want to put on TV. So it goes from Thursday to probably Tuesday. And then you're turned around and you're told, oh, by the way, you're playing Friday night in the Premier League. And then you're probably playing Tuesday again in the Champions League. It does not make any sense to me how they cannot give themselves the opportunity. Not even forget the advantage. The thing I can't understand is that clubs are not willing to protect their players by giving them the opportunity to play a little bit less by having that option there. Forget the advantage.
Do you see it from, say, my perspective, or where
yes.
The media perspective though as well, when Klopp isn't making any substitutions at all in that Tottenham game? Right, or when in the City game where they're making like 1 each or whatever it was, it's like, well, what's the answer to that?
Well, they're finally points games, I think, aren't they? Because if you looked at our bench, Chamberlain came back 2 days ago after 4 months off.
Yeah, Keita was missing at the week.
Keita came back came back for the game and then got injured again because
Keita wasn't available on Sunday and comes back onto the bench. Oxlade-Chamberlain hasn't been seen in 6 months and comes back onto the bench. So it's been, for me, it's been Klopp doesn't make changes there, but you see, this is the problem now. Klopp comes out and tries to, and he's genuinely coming out, I think, and saying, listen, you need to protect the players here. We're running them into the ground and we're leaving ourselves with no options here. And I think he's genuinely doing that. Now, every time he doesn't make the absolute maximum amount of substitutions, people are going, "Oh, well, you didn't make all the subs." Well, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? If it was like a congested period last year during Christmas and there was no COVID and he didn't make a substitute, nobody would care. Nobody would care. I just can't understand how they've changed from 8 games last season to 38 this season in a much more condensed season, and they've reverted back to 3. And I get the advantage thing, Joe. I do, because Liverpool have 25 men like Leeds have, but Liverpool probably have 20 top quality where Leeds might have 15. I get that argument, but the whole it shouldn't be about footballing bias. It shouldn't be about a footballing advantage. It should be about the protection of your players, and that's where Klopp's coming from. It's not about what he can get advantage he can get on the pitch. What he's trying to tell people is that he's running out of players, Joe. He's running out of players, and the reason he's running out of them is because they're being ran into the ground. And what he's trying to say is, if you give me that option to play 5, yes, when the game is tight, you see a game spreads out more over 5 subs, if you ask me. There's more periods in a game when there's 5 subs, because obviously there's more changes. You know yourself, a sub changes games and stuff like that. And I think that's where it's coming from. And I cannot for the life of me understand how any Premier League manager cannot put the welfare of their players first and say, yeah, do you know what? Player A, Player B and Player C are absolutely running on empty. It would be great to be able to make one extra sub near the end of a game and bring a fella on. Just give him 15 minutes rest. It's all about player welfare for me. It's not the advantage thing is secondary.
Which is what he's done in the Champions League. Because in the Champions League, he's actually been able to do like pre-agreed subs. So like with our centre-back situation, we've literally had our only 2 fit centre-backs do 45 minutes each way. And then just saying to the kid, I hope he does well, because we've had no other option. But I mean, let's face it. I think I remember watching the Premier League when it first started in '92, when we only had 2 subs, and when it went to 3 subs, it was the same argument. Oh, it'll make the bigger teams better. I mean, there is an element of that is how things go a little bit. And in first, Leeds were actually one of the bigger teams then. Challenging that side, but that's not the reason for it. But when I looked at Klopp, I think they've said something like in the 13 league games so far, I think in 9 of them he's used the full subs because he's active.
But every time he doesn't now, that's just it's a lazy argument that's being put. But the funny thing is, I
think my concern is once it's changed, it's not reverting back next season.
Oh
that's where I don't agree, because I think it should be because of how condensed this season is, and although Gary Neville may say, well, it's the same number of games. Difference was when Gary Neville played back then, 56% of the games were still 3 o'clock Saturday. Whereas now it is 5 p.m. Friday to 8 p.m. Monday. And it's spread out. So when you used to go,
but the rounds of games aren't starting again on Friday. They're starting then on Thursday. Do you know what I mean? There's no stop. This is like watching an extended World Cup. You know, where there's games every fucking day. This is what it's like. They're just watching the World Cup for 9 months. That's what it's like. And the funny thing is, like someone said there, only Liverpool don't get injuries. Absolutely. But if you watch Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's comments after they beat Everton at Goodison Park, he says, well, he's having a go about the whole TV stuff. Right? And he's saying, well, we only come back, I think it was Turkey they come back from. And he said, we come back on from Turkey on Wednesday morning or whatever it was, and we're playing here now early on a Saturday. And he was making the exact same point Jurgen Klopp was about the 5 subs, about the difference in games. And for me, you just can't continue to play them every 2 and 3 days and not give them any sort of, a bit of carrot and stick, I suppose. I think that's probably the best way to put it. But look, it's another one that's going to ramble on now, and there's been another vote, and I'm sure I can see another vote coming early in January, and we'll have to wait and see. Somebody does say there, the new rule, Craig Lowe, he says the new rule for 2 extra concussion subs is at least sensible. Yeah, well, that just makes absolute perfect sense. Sorry, we went off on a massive tangent there, but that happens. We're lucky we didn't end up talking about EastEnders or something, because that can happen as well. Before we go on, of course, this is brought to you by Colossus Bets. If you look in the description, you will see the links to the Colossus Bets website, plus the link to this week's live syndicate. We're trying to let you know what we've predicted. But if you go on there, take a couple of minutes to sign up, follow LFC Daytrippers there, join the syndicate. And if you do join the syndicate and you do sign up, let us know, because we're trying to get everybody together to make these selections every week. So it's not just me and a couple of lads. If there's 20 of us, we can all put the 20 predictions in, and whatever's most popular comes out. And, a kind of a I suppose, a democracy of some sort, but it's really fun. We're having great fun with it, I have to be honest. You can bet a really small amount of money and just keeps an interest over the weekend's football for you, and you're part of it. I suppose a syndicate and a team to try win some money from Colossus Bet. So have a look at that. Game 4. My favourite team in the league, Arsenal, are away at Everton, and they're only my favourites because they're fucking mental. Harvey, you stay quiet for long enough. A London side.
Listening to it.
Thanks. A London side going through an awful time, I would put it. Have they brought this on themselves, Harvey? Because I want your point of view on this. Have they brought them on themselves? Because it's my view that instead of going out and getting a manager of proper quality, i.e. Carlo Ancelotti, when they could have, they went for a bit of a yes man vanity project, and it's coming back to bite them on the arse. Would you agree with that?
I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. I draw a lot of similarities with Man United. Obviously, Solskjaer's doing a bit better than Arteta at the moment, but you do feel like there is a much lower ceiling on Solskjaer and Arteta in terms of how far they can take those teams. They got that initial bounce, which is why both of those managers came in. And Arteta obviously got a very good bounce winning the FA Cup that last season. But in a way, that's kind of that may be a bit more of a downside than everyone thought, because now obviously they've got no choice but to stick with him. It's not like they can have him in a short term and then bring in a proper manager for this season. I think they were forced to stick with Arteta and back him. And to be fair, he hasn't had the experience at this level as a first as the coach of the side. He's obviously coached City as an assistant coach to Guardiola, but he's not held the realms of a top club before, and it's starting to show. I think there's obviously he's gone into this season trying to set the team up to be defensively sound, and I think he has improved the side in that sense. Obviously, with the same players that under Emery and Wenger were leaking goals left, right, and centre, he is starting to get to reduce that number. But at the other end of the pitch, when Aubameyang starts, when his goals dry up, no one else seems to take the reins, and shows how big a player he is to that side. So I just think that Arteta, he's hit a ceiling, I believe, and I don't know if Arsenal will ever get back to where they want to be with Arteta in charge.
I'm bemused by it. Like I done a 2-hour show with Lee Gunner on his channel a couple of weeks ago about Arteta, and this was before it even got worse. We were just genuinely, by the end of it, we just couldn't even figure out how he had the job. The only reason we came about was they wanted someone to come in, I think, as a bit of a vanity project. I think its owners just stalling on what they see for the club and what way they want to push the club forward. And I think if a decent offer come in for Arsenal, they might just say, yeah, we're up, we're away, good luck. But we'll have to wait and see. Park Lane is telling us about all the Spurs players that got injured, and we were told to just get on with it. But you shouldn't have been told to just get on with it. Like, Liverpool have loads of players injured and are being told to get on with it. That's not the issue. And in fairness, a lot of Liverpool's players that have got injured have been injured by bad tackles, even down to apparently Joe Gomez at England training, and your mate Harry Kane's being rumoured, by the way, at Park Lane, but we won't say any more about that. But it's more player welfare, and we'll probably have a proper chat about it one night, because I think this will come up again within the next 6 weeks, but we'll have to wait and see. Joe, I want to talk to you about Everton, because Everton started the season really, really well. They go through a bit of a period then from probably game 5 or 6 to game 10, 11, and then they beat Chelsea at home and they go and win away at Leicester. Is this what we're looking at for Everton? 4 or 5 good, 4 or 5 indifferent, 4 or 5 good again? What way are you looking at this?
Yeah, no, it seems that way, doesn't it? I think obviously after the draw against you guys, obviously Richarlison was out of the side for 3 games, and I don't think they haven't won a game when he's not around. I don't think for the time that he's been at the club or whatever it is, that crazy stat. Obviously, we beat them as well. But no, they seem to be on the upward curve again. And look, Arsenal at the minute, are they really? I think there seems to be a lot more going on behind the scenes at Arsenal, even from a player perspective, than we know about in public as of yet. It was actually someone tweeted out about Xhaka talking about discipline and that in the Arsenal programme, and then the same night he went and got himself sent off for bloody putting his hand around someone's throat.
Xhaka's the crack, isn't he?
And then Gabriel, the best defender they've got this season, he gets a sending off as well. And then you've got Ozil tweeting after games when they're getting beat and all sorts. It stinks at the minute, and I think a change is needed. But I mean, it's the worst start. I was listening to something earlier. It's the worst start to a season since 1974, which isn't great for a club of Arsenal's stature. And Everton will be licking the lips, I think. You know, it's nice to see Aubameyang get 2 in 2 now. Obviously, one at the opposite end, but it's a goal nonetheless. But
does he get points for that? In the fancy football,
minus points. Yeah.
Is it? We still scored. You know.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens, because obviously in January they need some bodies in, don't they? They need some bodies in, and we'll see if I don't know how long he gets after that. Do you know what I mean? If he gets these bodies in that he wants, if Arteta is given the players that he wants, how long does he get after that? But I can't see past an Everton win this weekend, if I'm being totally honest.
Well, the funny thing is, the point that Lee Gunnar makes is that when you go through a squad of 25, I think about 12 of them are his signings. You know, they're actually his players, you know, and and then when you look at the ones that aren't, they're probably the players that are performing. You know, the kind of way it's a mad one at Arsenal. Park Lane says I'm having another go at Harry Kane. Surprise. I'm not. I was just having a joke. They were arguing that it was Harry Kane that injured Joe Gomez. Was going around the other night. Harry Kane is brilliant, except for when he heads the ball. You know, when he heads the ball and it goes out of the box and he sees that it's going to go to a Liverpool player and he jumps on the ground. That was amazing. I love that. Joking, Park Lane. Come on, it's Friday night. We're having a laugh. But Chris, what way do you see this going? Because I think, like Harvey says there, you have to kind of hang on to him. I don't know. I think if he loses this, I don't know. But I think if they win it, you know, he gets a bit of respite, and then you look at Everton again and go, it's the normal Everton. But what way do you see this working out?
God,
I can't wait for this game.
I can't. It's probably the best. It's going to be the best game on TV, because with Arteta, look, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he will be good enough. But the problem with Arsenal is it's not the one thing we just go, like at Everton, it was for the last couple of years, they had the wrong manager. They now have the right manager. And you could see the benefit of having a very good manager. I don't think Arteta is good enough. But then I think if they got rid of Arteta and said he had brought in an Ancelotti, they have no hide place than to go, you know, why are you buying me this? You know, why did you buy Saliba, who was apparently a really good young centre back, and then you didn't load him out in time, so he sits in the reserves, and you're not going to play him because he wasn't good enough to go to the Championship, so we might loan him out in January. I mean, that's Cracker's organisation. But the one thing I would say is the 3 red cards shows where he's weak. There is absolutely no discipline in that club. They're all, you know, they win a game, and you know, I see it, you know, with some of the Arsenal fan channels, but especially the Arsenal players. They win a game, honestly, Champions League one. It's like, come on, you know, it's that mentality that's not right. In terms of Everton, they've done really well. They have, you know, and Everton's issue is something that's going to take time to fix, which is the squad's just not quite deep enough yet to go where they want to go, which is when they had that run of 4 or 5 games out, is once you lose a Rodriguez or you lose a Richarlison, you're back then to the Iwobis, the Delphs, the Sigurdsons, the guys they hated, guys that that probably aren't quite good enough yet. I mean, they're playing four centre-backs in a back four because they haven't got enough cover at full-back. Look, that's just going to take time. But look, when you get someone like an Ancelotti, the one thing that's helping Everton now is they've got Ancelotti. So even when they go through these rough patches, the fans aren't up in arms. They're not going mad because they're going, we've got Ancelotti. He'll get it right. And I've no doubt he will. The concern for Everton is I think Allen's out. And I think he's the key to that midfield. Yeah. So if Allen's out, before they had Allen, it used to be Davis and Sigurdsson taking it in turns playing defensive mid, which, as you and me saw in the derby, it doesn't work. That's not their game. That's not what they're designed.
You just get overran because what happens is if you play Alan Diakore and Andre Gomez before these two lads turned up was the man that they looked for to be to carry the midfield in a forward kind of thinking way, Whereas he was kind of freed up a bit when these two come in. Alan done all the dirty work, Diakari's box to box, and Andre Gomez could find pockets of space like he did at previous clubs to influence a game. When these players go missing, it goes back onto Andre Gomez to be the kind of the focal point of midfield and the man to supply everything to the front men. And he just doesn't do it when it's all on top of him. And then when you bring in Sigurdsson or Davis, like, it's just a massive drop off in midfield. Sigurdsson shouldn't be anywhere in midfield. He should be playing as a 10. And if he's not, he shouldn't be playing. The point on fullback is interesting, though, because you have got John Joe Kenny, and they've a young, very highly rated left back. His name is going out of my head, but I know the lads on Across the Park podcast, the Everton fans, really like him and are surprised they haven't seen him. And I don't know, maybe it's just Ancelotti being Ancelotti going, doesn't trust the youth a little bit, and I'm just going to play those centre halves who've done okay. Park Lane is back. He says Arteta is good enough. He's doing a fab job. That's literally what Liverpool fans are saying about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the last 18 months. So yeah, I'm with you on that. But I think I'm very unsure over this one. I have to say I'm very unsure over it. But let's go with predictions. Joe, come on, hit me.
2-0 Everton.
Okay, Harvey.
Arsenal have got to win eventually, but I do think Everton will win this 2-1. 2-1.
Chris.
I've got a feeling that the last two big wins for Everton might take it out of them. So I think the loss of Allen is the big one for Everton. So I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
Oh, okay. So there's a mix there, and I like that because in our syndicate this week, we've gone with 4 results in this game because we genuinely aren't sure. So we've gone with 3-1 Everton, 3-0 Everton, 1-1 draw, and 2-1 Arsenal. And I think most of them results were included in your predictions there. So I'm happy with that. The confidence has risen since you've given me them predictions. Game 5, our big game. Big game number 5, and it's Manchester United versus Leeds United. This is Joe's wet dream for the last 16 years. Manchester United versus Leeds United in the Premier League. And listen, Joe, you never know. In the return fixture, you might have people in Elland Road, so you get that little bit of advantage. Yeah. Joe, I'm going to leave you to last because I like to leave you hanging when it comes to Leeds. You know how that works. Okay. Harvey, United go 2 points within 2 points at the top of the table if they win their game in hand. That's the first thing. And Leeds, good win during the week. They were looking a bit stuttery, but that's a good win during the week against Newcastle. I think this is an intriguing one, Harvey. I really do. The styles of play is going to be, I think, brilliant to watch against each other.
Really is. It is very intriguing. I think, as you mentioned, United, it's kind of hard to say because it's Man United. They haven't really gone under the radar with their results, but in a way, they've crept up the table and are very close to putting in a challenge. I don't think they're going to challenge for the league by any means. I don't think they're consistent enough for that, but I think for a top 4 hunt for sure. But I think it's set up really, really nicely for this game. We've waited so long to see it back, and as a neutral in this, I can't wait to watch it. I'm sure the Leeds and United fans are absolutely buzzing for it as well. And getting these 2 big results, United, that result against Sheffield United, and then Leeds smashing Newcastle. Both teams have set this game up perfectly. It'll be really interesting to see how Leeds approach it, because obviously we know how they like to play Bielsa ball and the way they press and go on the front foot, the energy in that side. And you'd compare that to Man United, where they seem to have, especially at the back, quite a lack of communication, a lack of energy in comparison at the back. And then really it all happens like that when they go forward on the counter-attack. And that's arguably where we've seen Leeds being most vulnerable this season, is on the defending on the counter-attack. I think when Palace played Leeds, that was a good example. We managed to exploit them there quite well. So I think it's really finely poised. It could really go either way. And it's just going to be a case of who's going to be more clinical, I don't know how, if Bamford, if he gets his shooting boots on, you never know. But I think it would be really, really close.
Yeah, Cavill Sullivan says that's a big pitch to go pressing on. I just think that the way they both play and the way that this will face off, I think it'd be really, really interesting. I think Leeds style won't suit United. United don't like being pressurised. They don't like being put in tight situations. And Chris, I'll ask you, because this is something that's just come into my head during today. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was accused of just putting players on the pitch in their positions and hoping for the best. Is it a case of he's copped on him a little bit and said, right, we're not too good at the back, so what we do is we'll just sit back. we'll sit back a little bit, we'll sit off, we'll be a bit pragmatic, more pragmatic, because we have got Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, Pogba when he feels like it, that we can hurt teams. You know, has he latched onto something here where he just goes a little bit more pragmatic, hit them on the break, and we take that all day of the week? He's literally trying to do what Jose Mourinho attempts to do.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think form-wise, they're the form seed. I think in the last 6 games, they're top of the pops. And I think in the last 8, they've just looked the 3rd. So, you know, although it's not stylish, I mean, although he has made them better, I know what you mean. They play more defensive, but he keeps going 2-0 down before they wake up. And I don't quite understand, especially away from home. It just seems to be the pattern. United go 1-0 down and win it in the last 10. You know, that seems to be the pattern. The home form for them is the biggest worry, because I think it's their worst home form for quite some time. Yeah. My concern for Leeds is I think, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong here, you've got a few issues at the back. Isn't Ayling having to play centre back at the moment, which isn't his position. He's more obviously right back. He's very good, but he isn't it. I don't believe he's a natural centre back. You'll correct me if I'm.
No, he's not, man. No.
So that's where, you know, Rashford, Martial, you know, Fernandes. I could see them getting goals. But you're right, Maguire, Lindelof. They won't like Bamford and Rodrigo and who's the lad knowing Costa pressurising them, because they don't like that. This game is going to be about who comes on top out of Phillips and McTominay, the 2 holding mids. It's whoever has the better game out of them 2. I think Phillips has the better passing range, but McTominay, in fairness to him, in these sort of games, when he's given a role of your job is to stop everything and then play it simple, he's brilliant at that. Where McTominay struggles, I find, is when it's a game where the emphasis on United to attack and you know, it's giving him the ball, and I think teams almost will let him have the ball, because he's not as good as Pomper or Van der Beek when he plays that 1 game in 7 at finding things. I will say one thing, because I know he gets a lot of stick, and it's quite an easy person to pick out. Pomper's not even on the quiet. He's done quite well since he's come back in the side. I know he's not popular for what he came out with just before a Champions League game from his agent. That wasn't the cleverest, but West Ham, Southampton, you know, I think on the quiet, he's starting to show glimpses of what we see for France, we see Juventus. The problem is, probably like our frustration with Naby Keita, it's too many flashes and not enough consistency, but he does just seem to be hit in probably a good purple patch. So I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a bit like the Spurs Leicester game or Southampton City game. I think it's going to be like a high scoring game. I think anything could happen, really. So it's a game I'm looking forward to.
It's a game I'm massively looking forward to, because I think, you know, somebody says there, Barry Devaney, I think, says United have only won one home league game this season. Is that right? West Brom. West Brom, yeah. And the home form is a bit of a worry. And when you look at the teams who've come from behind against West Ham, who are doing quite well in the league, don't get me wrong, and Southampton, who are doing quite well, but they're teams that you would expect United to beat on paper, you know, all things being equal. But I'm wondering, will people start to copy United a little bit and go, well, we're not going to come on to you then, you know, especially when you go to Old Trafford. They're expected to come on to teams, fans or no fans there, they're expected to come on to teams. And I look for Leeds to be in their faces. You might as well be in their faces and see exactly what you can get out of them. Because I think if United are okay if you sit back against them, they have got creative players, Fernandes and Pogba probably being the 2 most creative. And for me, Leeds, I've said to Joe, you know this, will they temper their style a little bit? Will they do this? Will they do that? And you've gone, no, they won't. I think this is an argument this week to absolutely not change their style and actually back themselves and go with it. But Joe, you're not going to like our predictions on our syndicate this week, but I'll let you know that before you start. But what happens for you here?
I am nervous. I'm not going to lie, because I think for me, Ollie doesn't really have a plan, and I think what he does, like's been mentioned before, he's great on the counter. You know, I don't think when he has to take the impetus in games and come up with a plan in order to break down a low block, he hasn't got a clue. But when teams come onto him, it's pretty easy, isn't it? Just get them on the counter. You've got Rashford, you've got Martial, you've got Greenwood, you know. And that's what I'm worried about from a Man United perspective, because I do think we'll go at them from minute one. And we know, as Harvey will tell you, Leicester fans will tell you, Leeds can be got at on the counter. That's why I look at that. Every time I watch that Spurs team play, I'm like, oh my God, I'm dreading coming up against Son, And I see Man United in a similar sort of mould. So I am worried from that perspective, but they're not great defensively. I think, Bamford can get the run on Maguire. I think his movement's been brilliant this season. He's really come on. I mean, I know he played at Palace for a bit as well, and I mean, he's scored the most goals this season from open play. 9 goals he's got from open play, the most. I know he's had, I think, similar shots on target as like Salah and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it doesn't always convert to goals because he's not as clinical as some others in the division. But, we will get opportunities. I do think, like you say, pressing up high, you've got Rafinha, Harrison, Rodrigo, and Paddy Bamford. And I think the key thing for me is KP's got to stop Bruno Fernandes. And I think there'll be no player on that pitch that will understand this game more than Calvin Phillips. He's a Leeds lad, born and bred. He's all his family's from Leeds. He's got a massive extended family within the area. They all know how much this game means. I'm not really sure that a lot of the Man United players will. Liam Cooper, our captain, he's a Leeds United fan. They'll get this game, and I think we've look. It's been 17 years since we've played them in the Premier League. It's been far too long. I'm proper excited for the game, but I'm also not blind to the threats that Manchester United pose on the counter, and I think it could be one of them games where you score 4, we'll score 5. A bit like the Liverpool game. It could run out like that. I genuinely believe it, and hopefully Leeds will be on the right end of it this time, because I do think we will create. Yeah, but it's. I'm just gutted, fans aren't in the ground, because then it gives it that extra edge, doesn't it? But yeah. I hope that's. Yeah,
I can see the nerves kicking in already. It's brilliant. I can actually see. Do you know what? Like, in the last 30 seconds, this game has just hit you, and I've watched it live. It's absolutely amazing what's happened there, because you were going great, and then you went, oh fuck, this game's actually happening now. It's actually back. I've dreamt of this for years, and oh bollocks. But look, do you know what? Go back to United on the break. I don't think he trusts his midfield to get back when they get forward. I think teams expose them when it becomes a bit of a game of tennis, or when United push on and a decent player gets hold of it from the opposition and hits a good pass out of defence. I don't think he trusts Pogba, Matic, whoever else to get back, and I think that's why he's gone with a more defensive looking team, the way they set up. But he has the creativity going forward. They love running forward. I just don't think they love running back, because when people pick on Pogba, and he has been decent, don't get me wrong, as Chris said, but when they pick on him, it's always, look at Pogba. Look where the ball is now, and look where Pogba is. Look where Pogba is. Look where Pogba's not moving. Look how this fella's ran past Pogba. It just goes on and on and on. And I think that's what he might be just trying to. He's limiting the exposure. That's all he's doing. He's just limiting the exposure. And listen, last week he wouldn't answer questions about Paul Pogba, because Paul Pogba was being very bold, and his agent was as well. And this week he's telling you how Paul Pogba loves Manchester, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. So there's more to that than meets the eye, in my opinion. Lads, we need predictions. Joe, go on, I'll let you go first.
I've been saying this all week. 3-1 Leeds.
Nice one. Harvey.
With Man United's home form, I'm going to go 3-2 Leeds.
Oh, jeez. I'm definitely watching this. I'm definitely watching this. Chris.
I have to say,
don't do it, Chris.
The goals.
3-2 Man United.
Okay. I can tell you our syndicate this week have gone for United 3-1 or 2-0. They fancy United, but I think it's the game of the weekend. I genuinely do. I think it's the game of the weekend.
I hope I'm wrong.
Well, no, I'll take a 2-0 there winner at Selhurst Park, to be honest, and let United and Leeds bash each other. Doesn't bother me. But no, I think it is the game of the weekend, just because of the history between the two clubs, the styles of play, what it means to both of them. I think it's going to be a cracker, absolute cracker. Park Lane thinks it'll definitely end 0-0 after all that. It very much could do. We look like absolute fucking idiots here next week. But look, last game of the weekend. We always leave Liverpool to the last, as we are a Liverpool channel, and it's Palace v Liverpool. Joe, I'm going to let you go first on this because you are the man that has nothing in this game. So what are you looking at here?
Do you know what I was listening to something earlier on, and obviously the thing is with Liverpool, every time they come up against there's a game in which I think or others think, oh, this might be the time they falter, they just blow teams away, you know, like they did with Leicester, like they won the Tottenham game, the Wolves result, for example. And then it was pointed out that actually the away form, and I think it's gone under the radar a little bit just because of these great performances where you're blowing these teams away that are sort of challenging you, and you've not been great away from home all season, which I find quite a surprise. I just wanted to get an opinion from you guys as to what's been going on away from home, because I think you've drawn against Fulham, not great. Drawn against Brighton, not great. Away in the Champions League, City, fair enough. But then you've been beat by Villa, drew at Everton. So is there an issue there with the away form? And if so, what is that, Gav? What's going on there?
Well, look, Villa is an outlier. Like, it's just, I was even laughing come the end of that. It was just one of those. When you look at Brighton, you know, it's a very contentious penalty at the end. I'm not saying Liverpool were great that day, but it was the sort of performance that if you come away, and in my opinion, the correct decision is made about the penalty, you come away going, didn't play well, but won. And that's the markings of potential champions, because it's said every season when stuff goes on like that. The Everton one, for me, was a joke. Pickford shouldn't be on the pitch. Richarlison rightly gets sent off, but it's right at the end. Everton get 2 good goals, don't get me wrong. Liverpool get 2 good goals, and then Liverpool denied it at the end with this VAR offside, which everyone says it's offside, but I don't think you should have got that far. I think Liverpool were by far the better team on the day. I think there was just so much going on in that game. There was so much pantomime around it, and you know, sometimes you overlook draws, but this one you're kind of making too much of it when you actually look at the whole game. I think you can't really fault Liverpool. The Man City one, Liverpool were good first half, City probably the better second half. In the second half, not much happened, to be fair. And you know, but it's just the season that's in it, Joe. And Liverpool are going through a stage where they're losing players, and there's players going down with injuries. There's COVID issues over SALAH and stuff like that as well, and others. And I just think it's one of those where you just have to take your licks a bit, Joe. Take your licks and say, look, you're not going, because you're holding Liverpool to a standard that's quite ridiculous, to be honest. Last season, it was ridiculous what they done last season. And I just think, you know, you're right in what you're saying. When it comes to Liverpool, do usually put teams away, and I think you'll see that again in the new year when players start getting back and Liverpool get into a bit of a rhythm. But overall, I'm not too concerned about the away form, simply because of the situation surrounding those draws that you've mentioned, and the defeat is just one of those. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Joe?
No, Gav, as always, mate. I throw them at you, and you just blow me out of the water. But I do fancy Palace just because of them draws.
That's only because I told you. That's only because I said United to beat Leeds.
No, I said this on mine earlier, right? I think it's going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be 2-2. I've even wrote down my scorer, so it wasn't. I'm not like. That's what I thought prior to the game. Wanting Zaha's one of them, you see. That's all. So, 2-2, I think, mate.
Okay. Park Lane says, jokes aside. Look, we're joking again, Park Lane. Deadly. I fancy Palace to get a positive result. Liverpool could be fatigued from Wednesday. That's a very fair point, because they are literally... You're probably looking close to that 11 again, you know, unless they're going to take a risk on Oxlade-Chamberlain. Naby Keita, that's only back. You know, Minamino, does he come in? Do you put another young centre-half in somewhere? Does Nico Williams come in and get a game? When you look at the options, they're quite young, they're quite raw, there's a bit of inexperience, and then there's Divock Origi. That's just a fucking waste of time. But it's you could look to that 11, so that's a fair point with regards to fatigue, and we'll know more at 11:30 tomorrow morning, I suppose. I'm going to let Harvey go last on this one. Chris, what are you looking for tomorrow? Do you think we could look into the fatigue issue? Do you think he'll go similar to Wednesday? And where do you think we can get at Palace, and where do you think Palace could have joy against us?
That's a long question, isn't it?
I know. Take your time.
Take your time. I think we'll probably make 2 changes. The talk is Matip's back in training, so I think he'll go in, because I think we will probably need him. I don't think it's Palace away is probably not a great game for a young centre back. Luckily for us, there's no crowd there, which, to be honest, is probably a bit of a godsend, because Palace's crowd is raucous and it's a great atmosphere, and that's what makes Palace away a tricky game. I mean, we haven't actually dropped points there since the days of Adam Bogdan, when he decided to catch the ball inside the goal, which was hilarious.
Yeah, he was great at that.
Yeah, with Ricky Lambert up front, and Barini.
I always talk about this. The only recollections I have now of Adam Bogdan as a Liverpool player, not even the stuff Watford away was another disaster, but it's literally him on Instagram sitting on some sort of balcony looking out over Melwood eating fruit while the actual first team are training.
Yeah,
genuinely.
Yeah, brilliant. It's a brilliant life, isn't it?
Yeah. He had it made up. He had it made. He did.
Yeah. That's mad, does it? And then I think Keita will come in, because he was going to bring him on the last 5-10 minutes of the Tottenham game. So I think he must have been touch and go anyway. So he said we've seen him in the training photos. I think Keita might come in for Jones, not because Jones has played poorly, but I think you've got to manage young players in the right way, because he's got to get used to a workload of 3 games a week. And I think for a young player, they're more likely to pull something. And also for Jones, he's quite a confident lad, and Klopp can easily sell it to him as, you can come in as my super sub. And the type of lad he is, he'd probably quite enjoy that opportunity. So they're the only 2 changes I can see us making. I think the way to get at Palace is we've got to do the opposite we did at Fulham. We've got to start quick. We were too slow. And I think what Klopp's going to try and get to do is try and get it won in the first half, which is unusual for a Palace away, but try and get it won in the first half, because after Palace, we've got an 8-day break, whereby then the talk after Palace, Milner and Shaqiri should be back in training. THIAGO is starting to do fitness training now. So with an 8-day break, the squad could look very different after the Palace game. So to me, I think we should try and, if we can, try and hit Palace early through Manny, who seems to have, I know he's not ungrateful, but Manny seems to do well against Palace. That seems to be a team he does quite well against. And then just try and try and make the second half a bit of a dead game, where both teams just accept the results. But sadly, I don't think it'll be like that, because I'm not too worried about Zaha, and I know I'll get clipped and I'll get abused
Absolutely.
for it. I'm
Joe,
actually
get on that, Joe.
Yeah, I'm actually more worried about Eze. Every time I see Eze on the ball, I just think something's going to happen. He just looks at a brilliant young player. I know the stats probably don't show he's got enough goals and assists yet, but he just looks like a player that makes things happen. And because where he's playing now, it's allowing Zaha to go through the middle more. And it's actually taking the burden off Zaha, which why Zaha this year looks the player he was a couple of years ago. So I think it's going to be a horrible game if you're not a neutral to this. But I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy the game.
So Joe has 2-2. Chris, what are you going with?
A nervy 3-1 to Liverpool.
A nervy 3-1. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be 2-1 for ages, and I think we might just nick one right at the end. Those ones where you like praying for the full-time whistle. Yeah.
Okay. Harvey, Chris has told us there what he thinks Liverpool should do, but does fear the likes of Eze. I'd add Zaha to that, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But what are you looking for from this game tomorrow? Where do you look to get at Liverpool from your point of view, and where are you worried about Liverpool?
Well, I think there's loads of places where you'd be loads of points in the Liverpool team that you'd be worried about, and I think off the back of last season, of course, the way that we've already mentioned, and you guys have mentioned about Liverpool just grinding out results when it matters. They never seem to drop points whenever they're under pressure or something. I remember last season, obviously, we got an equaliser at SALAH Park against Liverpool and put you under some pressure. Zaha missed a big chance. Then you got the other end, I think it was Firmino who won the game last season. But, you always seem to get the result when it matters, even when you're under the cosh on an away game. And I think that the best way to get at Liverpool is by being clinical on the counter-attack, which is all we really know, to be honest. You guys mentioned Eze, and I'll back up that point. I just think he's been brilliant since we signed him in the summer. I think his maturity at such a young age in that position to just, the way he just glides across the pitch on the ball and really hasn't, it's not so much an arrogance, but confidence in possession, and allows a build-up to occur, which we haven't really had, a person to bring the ball and to start moves. We haven't had that, didn't have that last season at least, and we haven't had it for a long time. And it's flashbacks of like Balassi, Zaha, when we got promoted, and when obviously Zaha came back to Palace for that season with Balassi there. I mean, I see us getting you down the flanks. I think that is our best chance, down the flanks. Obviously, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold were bombing forward, up and down. I think we got to try and target those areas on a quick turnover. And whether or not we can do that successfully still remains to be seen, because we are an ageing squad. We've seen already this season, MacArthur's not got 90 minutes in him, and he's a player that's really crucial to how we play, the way he presses in the midfield and breaks teams down. He's been subbed at 70 minutes quite a number of weeks now. So I think he's getting to that age where he can't last the 90 minutes doing his role in the team. Milivojevic, as good as he is a leader and as a man to break down teams as well, he has no pace going forward, and he's very reckless as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with Liverpool in the second half, because I think the legs will start to tell, and I think that Liverpool will pick us off towards the end of the game. I'd expect that anyway. But getting at Liverpool down the flanks is probably our best bet, and it's a shame in the way that Benteke is suspended for this game, because I think the way he's been playing in recent weeks, it'd been really interesting to see how he would have battled against your centre backs tomorrow. But I think there's a chance there for us to get something, but it's very unlikely. It'll be really interesting to see how it's set up, how we set up, how Liverpool set up. And just to finish off on that point, I think that the first goal is so massive in this game. Last season proved that. I think we only lost one game when we went ahead 1-0 last season. I think it was 12, 13 games we went 1-0 up, and we only lost one. And on the flip side, where we go 1-0 down last season, we lost most of the games where we go behind. It's so crucial to the way we play and the way Roy likes to set us up to be solid and to grind out a game from 1-0 up. So first goal's massive, but I think Liverpool should, let's be real, Liverpool should be winning this. And I feel like we could get leggy, is my probably best analysis. Okay, so what score are you giving us? 2-1 Liverpool, I think. I'd back us to score, but I feel like Liverpool, you should be winning this. Okay. The way I look at it is, I agree with Chris to start fast, but not even to start fast. It's putting your presence on the game very quickly. I get where Harvey's coming from with regards to get Liverpool down the flanks, but when Liverpool are at their best, they impose themselves on you. And even if you try to get out down the flanks, the likes of Henderson and Wijnaldum snap that up. They snap, and they just win it back. And usually the pass they're playing is back to the fullback, who is literally the furthest man forward for Liverpool. So what they try to do is they try pen you in, and even when you try to get out, they're not looking for, oh, let's expose the fullback because he's high up the pitch. They're literally putting the emphasis on the centre midfielders to play as an auxiliary fullback by cleaning up that sort of issue and turning and playing again. I like Eze a lot. A lot of people on Air Channel spoke about him before the season started. I am really highly rated. So, yeah, I think he's an absolute threat. Zaha is most definitely a threat. When Zaha's on his day, I think he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He has pace, power. He's decent in the air. He can finish. He has everything. Absolutely everything Wilfried Zaha has. The only thing that holds him back, I think, is inconsistency to a level. But I don't know if he backs himself enough, because I feel if Zaha backed himself enough, he wouldn't be at Crystal Palace. And that's nothing against Crystal Palace. But I think if he actually backed himself, he would be playing for definitely a top 6 side, if not a top 4 side. With this one, I know you said to me that Cahill might be out as well. Saka was injured as well, so I don't know what you're going to do at the back. I think Mane is key in this. I think Mane is absolutely key in this, because if Mane plays the way he can play, I think Klein could be in trouble. And usually when Klein is in trouble and Mane is playing well, your right centre-half is in trouble as well, because he gets dragged. And then all sorts of space opens up, and then Firmino starts to exploit. And, of course, Salah's going to be sniffing around everywhere. But I do get the point about Liverpool a bit leggy as well, I'm being honest, Harvey.
But Liverpool have 7 days off after this, I think. So it might be just one big, as someone said in the chat, it might be absolutely one big push, and then give them a couple of days off, and we go again. I can see a fairly strong side from Liverpool, and I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. I think I wouldn't back against Zaha scoring, but I think at the crucial moments, I think Liverpool will just have that little bit too much. Because of what Harvey said about after 70 minutes on, and the players that you're missing as well. I think when Liverpool can deal with theirs a bit better than Palace might be able to deal with their missing players. So I'm going to go 3-1. I could be completely wrong, and I have been most weeks, but I'm going to go with that. The early game, of course, is something that could come into the consideration as well.
The only thing with the early game, Gav, at least it's the same for both sides this time. As in, like, I think didn't Palace play Wednesday as well?
Yeah, West Ham.
So they've both kind of had. In fairness, I think both Liverpool and Palace have both had 3 games, 6 days. So they've probably got equal levels of fatigue. I'm just curious for Harvey, who are you going to play up front if you haven't got Benteke? Is it going to be AU or would it be Batshuayi?
Well, I'd love Batshuayi to play up front because I still think he hasn't hit the ground running since we got him back in on loan. But after his last loan spell at the club, he was a fan favourite for sure. And I think his movement is better than any striker we've had since getting promoted. Just his movement off the ball. You could see him making runs that if we had a more intelligent player behind him, he'd be on the score sheet plenty of times already this season. We just don't have that quality behind him, I think, to spot some of these runs that he's making. But I'd honestly think Roy will put Ayew in there. He's brought Ayew on for Benteke the last couple of games, and he's left Batshuayi on the bench. I'm not sure what the reason is behind that. I think he likes Ayew's energy up front. He likes to press Ayew, and he puts in a real shift, I think, more so than Batshuayi would. I think Batshuayi is a little bit more reserved and won't press as much as Ayew does. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Ayew plays, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in ahead of Batshuayi for this.
Michael Ramsey with a super chat. Michael is my favourite person on this channel. He says, no LFC fan have the right to celebrate the Spurs win. You all slander Bobby just as the rivals 7-2 to Palace. Okay,
do us a favour, send us the clip where we did. That'd be great. Okay, you gone, Gav?
We're going to get lads. Your 3 scores weekend. Can you hear me okay?
Say again, Gav. Sorry, you're breaking up, mate.
Sorry, I have remembered the 3 scores from the weekend. For the weekend, if that's okay. So, Joe, give us your first 3 scores for the weekend. I can't hear Joe now. Can you?
No, go ahead, Joe.
Can you hear me?
That's it.
Yeah, can hear you now. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, my bad. Zaha, Harry Kane, and 1 Patrick Bamford.
Right. Okay. Cool. Chris.
Salah, Danny Ings, Callum Wilson.
Okay. Harvey.
I'm going to go Son, Richarlison, and I'm going to back Zaha as well.
Okay. I am going to go with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes. Joe just thinks I'm picking on him now. And I'm going to go with
Too easy.
Olivier Giroud against West Ham, Chelsea v West Ham. So that's it. Just to let you know that we've done all our games in our syndicate. Bar one, they always throw a championship one at us, and I don't know anything about the championship. So what I done was I picked 5 results in this one. Stoke v Blackburn, 2-1, 2-0, 1-1, 2-2 or 2-1 to Blackburn. So there's just every result. If one of them don't come out in that game, forget it. I'll have to have a word in Colossus Bet's ears because I've picked them all, lads. I've picked them, all of them. I just can't do any more than that. It's been an absolute cracking show. Chris, thanks a million for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, everyone, mate. Just one quick one. Hopefully the women win on Sunday to go top. Fingers crossed.
Yes. Liverpool women are flying at the moment. Who are you playing Sunday?
Durham was second, so we'll overtake them if we beat them.
Good
So
stuff.
fingers crossed.
Good stuff. Home or away?
Away.
Okay, so crunch tie there in the women's game. Harvey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It won't be the last time, I hope.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been great.
Good stuff. And Joe, I'm sorry, all right, but look, that's the syndicate choice. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, but listen, I'm glad. I hope Leeds win
For the
because
away chat, wasn't it? That was
well, if Leeds win, it means you'll come back on next Friday. If they get battered, you'll have to make some sort of excuse.
Anyone who's watching, Leeds were playing last Friday. I'm glad I didn't come on straight on after that game either, because we were terrible against West Ham. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a new spring in my step now, mate. Now we scored 5 goals midweek. That's
there
it.
you go. Can't get rid of them. Can't get rid of them. No, absolute pleasure, Joe, as always. That has been the Friday forecast. Just before I go, the hashtag down the side of the screen and in the show descriptions, if you're watching this later or you're listening to it as an audio download, is the hashtag Keen Strong. I have told people about this numerous occasions. Everything is in the description. Go in there, click the link. It will tell you everything you need to know. It is a GoFundMe page that we are backing until it reaches its target. The response has been amazing. I think we've raised about $2,000 since we started this last week, and people have donated. It's absolutely brilliant. There is a big thing coming regarding this. Big. It involves people that are friends of ours from other podcasts, helping us out with this, and when it lands, you're going to want to be involved. That's all I'm going to say to you. It will take a couple of weeks to get going, but in the meantime, if you can donate, absolutely go and donate. If you can't, that's absolutely fine, but go to the link in the description, copy it, share it, do all them sort of things. And if you share it, I'm happy. If you donate, I'm delighted. But trust me, what we're planning to do to try to raise money for this is absolutely brilliant, and keep your eye out for that. That has been the Friday forecast. Thanks a million to everybody for joining us in the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll talk to you over the weekend. Over and out.